Hello. I don't normally make videos. This is probably the first one personally I've ever made, but I feel it's strong enough about Santander and their actions that I need to say something. I've been with Santander as a business customer since around 2006. During that time, they've really never contacted me, never had anybody like a business advisor or business account manager or anybody contact me. And I've had business accounts before where I've always been assigned a business manager, and they've contacted me and asked me about my business and discussed things and offered me advice, which really I don't tend to bother with financial products. I just want a bank to be a bank. I don't want to be sold everything on a daily basis. Anyway, so as I said, I've been with the bank since around 2006. Never been overdrawn, as far as I remember. Only had one incident with Santander where they lost £1,000 payment, which I transferred between the business and myself. And when I eventually managed to contact the bank, they said I had changed the template that I used to pay myself, which I thought very strange, because why would I change a template to myself, knowing that I've never changed my bank or anything like that? It doesn't make sense. But anyway, they said it was me, I did this. And eventually the money was found after about a month of me questioning where it had gone to. So no foul there, except I was annoyed that they actually blamed me for losing the money when it was actually their fault. So up to present day, about 8 months ago, I started receiving letters from Santander asking me to fill in a form all about my business activities, where my sources of money were from, details of my tax, personal tax, which really they have no right to ask you for your personal tax details. That's between you, your accountant, and the government, nothing to do with the bank. I understand they have a charter and a know your customer, because I worked for Barclays for 5 years and I went through all that bollocks with them as well. And it's important to know that you're not money laundering, but why start after, I don't know, nearly 20 years with me to know who I am? So the reason is they got caught money laundering and basically got fined 150 million quid for money laundering or not checking on money launderers. And now they're taking it on all their business customers because they're such a stupid bank. But back to my situation. So like I say, 8 months ago or more, they started writing me letters. First 3 or 4 letters I just ignored. Then they started sending me texts and emails, and they had a facility to go online and fill in all the details, which I did. I went online, I filled in all the things I thought were relevant to me, to explain the source of funds, etc. But there's no way I was going to give them my tax details. That's none of their concern. The only person who can ask me about my tax is my accountant and the Inland Revenue, not a bank. No bank in the world can ask me. So anyway, I digress. I filled this online form in probably just after Christmas 2023, so about five months ago now, and these letters carried on, continued getting these letters, even though I'd been online and done all this nonsense for them. And eventually they started calling me. They called me about 6 weeks ago and asked me a load of questions about my funds. I'd sold a couple of properties, which I owned outright, no mortgages, so large amounts of money was coming into my account. It belonged to me, it was my money, I paid for the properties. I put the tax on one side into my savings account and took the rest as my money, because it was my money and I wanted it for something else. I then paid the government the amounts required for the capital gains tax from the savings accounts when required to do so. In fact, not when required to do so, slightly after, so I got fined and I paid the fine again to the government, all out my business account. Santander started asking me why I was paying large sums of money to the HMRC. Now, I'm not being silly here or stupid, but if I'm paying money to the HMRC, that's not money laundering, that's giving the government what it's asking for. If I was money laundering, the government wouldn't know about these amounts of money I've taken for myself and wouldn't be asking for the money. Common sense, really. You pay 20,000 to the HMRC, there's got to be a reason for it. The reason is you've taken a large chunk of money. Simple. Santander don't seem to be able to grasp this. So this went on one phone call about 6 weeks ago, and then a follow-up phone call about 2 weeks later, asking more questions, and which I was quite happy to go through. I went through everything, told them the situation about selling the properties, sent them documents proving what the money was for, the amounts and everything. And I thought, well, that's got to be the end of it, surely. No. 2 weeks ago, all this nonsense started again. They called me up. We've got more questions. And I just certainly said, I'm not answering them. Well, we're going to send you a form out. I said I'm going to throw it in the bin. I don't care. There's nothing you need from me. You have everything. You have all the details of my business. You have all the details of my transactions. What the hell more can you want? I'm refusing to speak to you. Give me your manager so I can complain. No manager available. Sorry. Right, okay. Put the phone down on him. Called to complain. Complaining guy wasn't interested really. Couldn't give a toss about what I had to say. Had to speak to his manager. He put me on hold for 20 minutes. No manager available again. So eventually I got another phone call back, which I thought was the complaints manager, but it wasn't. It was actually the compliance team again saying, and she just launched into asking me stupid questions again. And I said, shut up. Don't want to talk to you. Put the phone down on her. And she said, basically, before I put the phone down, she said, we'll be sending you letters. Basically, in other words, we're closing your account. So I thought, fair enough, they can close my account. So I went straight online and I took all my money out of my business account, transferred it to my personal account, and then stopped all payments, contacted all the relevant companies, and moved all my payments to my personal account. Bank account is now zero. They can do what the fuck they want. I don't care. Eventually, the woman from the complaints department, Heather, nice woman, ran me up, said, I don't understand what's going on, Mr. Barnes. I've checked over your accounts, I've checked the notes, and basically there's a note on there saying everything's okay, compliance check is done. I don't understand why they're asking you more questions. I said, neither do I. And I've said I'm not willing to answer them. She said, leave it with me, I'll call you back Tuesday at the latest. This was Friday. Tuesday came and went, no call. Wednesday came and went, no call. Thursday lunchtime-ish, call came through. It was Heather saying they would just want to ask you some more questions. I said I'm not willing to answer them. And I told her why I wasn't willing to answer them. There's nothing to say to the bank. Doesn't matter now. I've got no money in your accounts, nothing you can do. And she persisted with us asking these questions. And do you know what one of the questions was? Where have you been on holiday? Why have you been to a certain country? Now, why does that matter? Which country I've been to? I can go to any country in the world as long as I've not gone to a country that's on watch lists for terrorism, like Iraq or Iran or something like that. That's fine. I actually went to the Ukraine. Big deal. What's wrong with that? Lots of people have been to the Ukraine. But they wanted to know why I was going to the Ukraine and what business I had in the Ukraine. I don't have any businesses in the Ukraine. I'm retired. The only business I have is my property business in the UK. Don't understand it. Why do they need to know where I've been? I said to them, I'm going to Greece next week. Is that a problem? Just don't understand the questioning or the reasoning beside of wanting to know why somebody's going on holiday. Doesn't make sense to me. And I can't remember the other question now, but I did answer it. And I said to him, I really don't care what you do to me now. I'll just spend my time going around social media telling them what a bunch of arseholes Santander are. But to be honest, I've been looking on social media for the past couple of weeks at Santander and their behaviour, and it seems they're doing this to a lot of people. There's two possible reasons. One I touched on earlier, the fact that they got nabbed for 150 million quid for money laundering, and the second one is they want to get rid of customers that are costing them money, like myself, never been overdrawn, have free banking for life. That's not something they like. They don't like free banking for life. You know very well that they tried to get rid of this about 5-6 years ago. Unsuccessfully, people complained. So now that they're basically going around and harassing customers, threatening to close their accounts for this, for basically to get rid of us. So what I did at the end of last week is I made a subject access request. First of all, I tried to do it online as they suggest on their website, and that failed because the advisor said you can't do it online. I thought, well, why is it on the website that I can make a subject access request online through the chat facility, and as soon as you go there, the guy just tells you to get lost? Doesn't make sense. And I brought this up with Santander, and they really couldn't care less. Not their problem. Not interested in the fact that they're giving people advice of how to do things. Doesn't work. They suggest you ring the 0330 number, which I did. 2 hours later, no response on the 0330 number, and I think this is not unusual either. I think most people have the same problems. So anyway, I then tried the 0800 number, and eventually I got through on that after a while, and I was able to make a subject access request. And basically I've asked for everything for the past 12 months, all conversations I've had, all emails, all recordings of phone calls, text messages, interdepartmental messages, and any correspondence whatsoever regarding me and my accounts. And then I'm going to present this information, once I've sifted through it, to the Financial Ombudsman and explain to them what I think Santander are doing to their customers. And I think it's not just me. I'm not an isolated case. It seems to be they're doing this to many, many people. Okay, there's only sort of like 10 or 15 or so on Facebook. That's because only small percentages of people actually know about the websites to complain on. So if you multiply that up to people who actually aren't using Facebook, there's probably hundreds of people they're doing this to. So there's no reason for it at all. We're not the criminals. Santander are the criminals. Santander are the ones who've been found with their hands in the till, not us. But we're being persecuted for their mistakes, or we're being getting rid of. One of the two. You decide. Anyway, the last thing is, make a subject access request. It takes a month. It will keep these bastards busy. So crack on with it.